and welcome. I'm Melinda Kiwani. Tonight, Federal Ministry of Justice sets up criminal investigating unit to handle all criminal investigations and fast-track prosecution of cases. Lagos State government to arraign suspected kidnapper Evans on Wednesday as the Federal High Court fails to deliver judgment on suit seeking enforcement of his fundamental rights. Absence of ASU members and some ministers stalls negotiations between the striking lecturers and the federal government. Lecturers insist that there is no going back on their demands. U.S. President Donald Trump visits storm-ravaged state of Texas as water levels continue to rise.
And on business news tonight, federal government assures local manufacturers 40% margin of preference in procurement policy.
On sports news tonight, a full house at the camp of the Super Eagles ahead of the Friday 2018 World Cup qualifiers against doubtful lands of Cameroon.
Abuja, major shake-up hits NNPC as management restructures operation value chain with fresh appointment and deployment of top executives.
All criminal investigations in the country will now be supervised by the investigative unit of the Ministry of Justice. And this is according to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. It says it has become imperative due to the need to address the consistent rejection of vital evidence in the course of prosecuting criminal cases on behalf of the government. Our correspondent, Amaka Okafo, has this report.
For the first time in over 2 years, the Federal Ministry of Justice is giving an account of its activities since the commencement of the Buhari-led federal government.
The Federal Ministry of Justice will attract the necessary...
First, the minister gives a rundown of cases that have been handled by the ministry in the last 2 years. The ministry is also setting up an investigative unit to coordinate all forms of investigation in Nigeria. This, according to the minister, has become imperative because of the lack of expertise in the conduct and processes of investigation, which, according to him, hampers most of the cases prosecuted by the government.
It is the intention of the Office of the Attorney General, as well, consequent of amount of legal expertise in the conduct and process of investigation by the various security agencies in Nigeria, and the need to address such anomalies leading to consistent rejection of vital relevant evidence in the course at prosecution, in line with the constitutional powers conferred on the Office of the Attorney General, the Chief Law Officer of the Federation, and by virtue of Section 105 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act, hereby deems it fit to establish an investigation unit within the ministry. This unit shall coordinate and form part of every investigation in Nigeria for a robust investigation and successful prosecution of such cases.
Cases of inmates awaiting trial for 5 years and above, and those on death row for over 10 years will be reviewed by the federal government in order to decongest the prisons in the next 2 years.
Necessary modalities and meetings are to be held with the relevant government agencies and stakeholders on possible local means of reducing the prisoners' population, while the Committee on Prerogative of Mercy will further consider and recommend inmates who will be granted state pardons.
Past governments have carried out reforms of the Nigerian prison systems in the past. Nigerians will have to wait to see what difference this current policy will make. Amaka Okafo, Channels Television.
Still on legal matters, the Lagos State government will arraign suspected kidnapper Evans before Justice Hakeem Oshodi of the State High Court Ikeja on Wednesday. The state's Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Kazeem Adeniji, is expected to lead the prosecution. This morning, Evans' lawyers failed to secure a court judgment for him at the Federal High Court on a suit seeking the enforcement of his fundamental rights.
You know that what we have done is to follow the law as cited by Supreme Court in this country. Even the Supreme Court, you cannot, once a court has adjourned for judgment, Any other application you bring afterwards is an attempt to arrest the judgment of the court. They were in court on the 16th, represented by their counsel. They came, now they want to deny that counsel. You cannot approbate and reprobate in law. Look, I want to say what I've been saying. The police don't know what they're doing. They have not acted within the ambit of the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I think Nigerians should know this. Their legal system should be overhauled. They don't know anything.
In the case of Evans, what we did was we approached the Federal High Court and we had a 3-month remand for Evans. So the lawyer who brought this application, I can tell you, brought this application out of ignorance because he doesn't know. The Inspector General of Police cannot keep Evans without a court order. There is a valid court order that is still subsisting as I speak with you for 3 months. Evans was arrested, I think, on the 10th of June. And since when he was arrested, till now, it's not up to 3 months. So there is a valid court order based on which the Inspector General of Police is keeping Evans in custody. But meanwhile, investigation has almost been completed, and very soon Nigerians will be made to know what is the next line of action for the case of Evans.
To education now. The absence of members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and some ministers stalled the negotiations between the striking lecturers and the federal government today. A press statement from ASU explains that the union wants the federal government to first address the content of the proposal they sent regarding their position on the offers made during the last meeting. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, has assured them that the issue will be addressed during the Federal Executive Council meeting.
For almost 3 weeks, academic activities in many universities across Nigeria have been halted as lecturers join the nationwide strike declared by the Academic Staff Union of Universities. An earlier meeting by the federal government to negotiate with the striking lecturers on August 16, 2017, ended in deadlock.
We are taking some government position, which we had communicated to us.
The meeting ended with the federal government making new offers to the lecturers to consider within 1 week and get back to the negotiating table. This is expected to be the renegotiation meeting between the federal government and ASU. The meeting is, however, scanty as only a few staff of the Ministry of Labour and the General Secretary of the Nigeria Labour Congress are in attendance. A few moments later, the Minister of Labour walks into the conference hall and addresses the press.
ASU got back to us, but that is late yesterday. This meeting had been scheduled before then, and ASU got back to the government to say that they needed us to deliberate on their counter-offer before we can have a formalized meeting. And we acceded to that because we think we have to do a government-side meeting on their offer before we then have a conciliation meeting to further discuss if there are further areas of disagreement.
However, a press release from ASU explains that the union wants the federal government to first address the content of a proposal they sent regarding their position on the offers the federal government made during the last meeting. The lecturers are on strike over the poor state of infrastructure in the universities, as well as the non-payment of their entitlements. As it stands, there is apparently no end in sight to the strike action. The longer this is allowed to continue, students in the affected universities continue to suffer.
To talk more about this issue, we're being joined on the news at 10 by the ASU President, Professor Pt.1 Ogunyemi. He joins us from our Abuja studios. Welcome, Professor Ogunyemi.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Why was ASU absent at the meeting with the federal government delegation today?
Well, like the Honorable Minister of Labour said, we wrote to government to say that we have replied to their proposals, having made extensive consultation with our members across the country. Our members were conscious of the fact that some of the proposals from government are time-bound, and they believe that those aspects that are not monetary, those aspects that are time-bound, nothing has been done substantially to warrant further discussion. And so with that, they felt that before we go into any further discussion, we must see evidence of serious commitment on the part of government.
By serious commitment, you mean addressing the content of the proposal. Can you tell us about what the proposal contains?
Well, we may not go into the content of the proposals because, like we said in respect of the first proposal they gave us, we said that proposal was for our members. This time around, the proposals we gave them are for government. But in their own proposal, just like our own, all the 7 areas that we raised are touched. And there were aspects that are time-bound. If, for instance, we talk of registration of the PFA for academics, for university staff, which is actually not monetary, which does not require any new investment on the part of government. We believe that is time-bound as we agreed, as they proposed. And we have issues about staff school, about retirement of professors with their salaries, besides the issue of revitalization. These are areas that we mentioned in our proposals, and we felt that from the look of things, since government promised that they have started something, we believe they should take it to a higher level, and then we can have meaningful discussion. There's no need meeting without any serious action on the ground. That was why we said we submitted our proposal yesterday. Now, let us allow for maturity. The initial 2 weeks they promised us will last tomorrow. So there's no need going there for any meeting today. And we are happy the Honorable Minister of Labour and Employment saw our position and he agreed.
As things stand now, are you getting any feelers that there will be a headway soon, at least when you meet with the federal government delegation next?
Yes, we are seriously concerned, like other Nigerians. Our members are parents. We have children in those universities. We are really anxious to get this crisis resolved. In fact, we can call it a dispute that should not have lingered if government had been upbeat since November last year. So now that we are talking, we are going to every meeting with open minds, and we believe that government too is showing some commitment, and we want to see those commitments in concrete terms.
The President of ASU, Professor Pt.1 Ogunyemi, thank you so much for speaking with us on the News at 10.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
In part 2, after the break, humanitarian aid workers pull out of Maiduguri IDP camp following an outbreak of violence. That's in a moment. Join us again.